Well, I am Jenine, and this is my husband.
Carl.
And we are from Southern California. We just moved here about a month ago. We're currently living in San Carlos, Costa Esmeralda. We were living in California for about 17 years.
Yeah.
And we found out that our home that we were renting was for sale. And we thought to ourselves, do we really want to stay here anymore?
Yeah.
And the answer was obviously no. And then we started looking into other options, and Panama came up. And then I was pleasantly surprised with what I was finding, and it seemed to really work for us and our needs.
And I remember saying to Jenine, I'm like, I've grown beyond these walls. Like the house started to feel very, very closed in. And then we started to have this conversation about, okay, where are we going to move? Like what's possible? And the idea of international came up because our business is completely online, so we had that ability to do so. And then this notion of Costa Rica came up, and it seemed like, sure, why not? You know, and what an interesting way to kind of live life where I'm going, sure, okay. And then it was Costa Rica, and then the story unfolds, and then it was Panama, and then can we do Panama? And then looking through all the different possibilities, because, you know, moving to Panama is, that's just one statement, and you got to go into deep other areas. And then along she went. I came absolutely unaware of where I was going. I let her do all the research. We sent her to Panama for a couple of days to see if she could live here, if the family could live here. And I just said yes along the entire way, and that's kind of how we found our way here.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just going to come out boldly and say this. Panama Relocation Tours is the reason why we chose Panama.
True.
Jackie's information that she put out and the community that was here with the expats, the already established community, the support, it really gave me the feeling that I could do this. It was already a huge move, and to do it with a family. And you know, our turnaround for this move was probably about 8 months from the decision where we said yes to the decision where we got on the plane and we sold everything. We, you know, changed our entire life. 2 dogs. We have a 12-year-old son. And, you know, so the ability to have the resources was the reason why we went with Panama, because it was a big decision, and it was really nice to be able to feel like we had all of those answers moving internationally with a family in the resources that Jackie put together.
Yeah, especially the online community. That was really helpful.
All of it, everything. It helped us realize that, you know, we had a question, it was always there. It was in the guidebook. We would put it out to the community, and somebody always had an answer.
We were running a course, and we had students or participants in the course, and we were teaching them on how they can tap into their ability to create whatever life they wanted. And in that, we were in the moment showing them by moving to Panama. So then afterwards we got on and we were like, okay, now culmination, here we are, here's our land, look at what we did. And I called it the land of the chill, because my day-to-day may change tomorrow, but my day-to-day today is I get up, I make sure that all is good around the house, I go swim for a few hours, and then I make breakfast, and then I lay out, and then all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock at night, and I go, I forgot to work today.
No, we do a lot of stuff in between. There's actually, because it's new to us, everything is new. You know, we're now experiencing what life is like in a new country, in a new land. There's waterfalls here. There's different beaches to explore. We're meeting new people. In between doing the stuff that, you know, a family does, like school. We started school for our son last week, and we're getting him acclimated and the homework, and he's new to learning Spanish, and there's lots of, you know, pets around the community. So we have a new pet that just kind of found us.
Yeah. In all fairness, the day-to-day coming here, so first off, I don't speak any Spanish. So I think it's important to mention that neither of us speak Spanish. You had some in school, and I started about 2 months ago in learning enough to get by with Google Translate, but we had 0. So if anyone ever has a question of can they do it without Spanish, we're doing it. So I think that's important.
So a lot of our day-to-day has to do with stuff that comes up around the house, and then we find something that we need to do, and we go out and do it, and just a little bit each day. We kind of chunk it up and take off little pieces.
You're really relaxing at least a good part of the day, which is we've already communicated what it would feel like to go back to California and how that would feel so different, the pace of life. Just instantly you feel the change. So however my days unfold from this point on, it will include many days of just relaxing.
I really do. I feel like I'm on an endless vacation, and gardening, plants everywhere. I mean, we are surrounded by so much nature. This is in our backyard here. It's everywhere. And I think for a family, it's pretty incredible, especially for us, to have our son submerged with nature right now is really healthy for him.
In California, our son was one that craved to be inside, craved to be on the computer, and he still does, let's be real about it. But I also remember very vividly the moment we moved out here, just a shift that happened in him. Like we were watching him grow daily, where before he would just wake up, do his thing, and go to bed. Here he woke up and one day said to me, "Hey Dad, I saw the sunrise today. That was really cool." Or he came out of the area that we're in now and started walking towards the house and saw the reflection of the water against the house and went, "Look, Dad, it's beautiful." So being surrounded by nature, being in this land, I'm also a big believer that the land speaks to you and the land gives you the energy itself. So him being here, he started opening up to aspects of life that I didn't see him open up to before. He sat at the beach and just played with the rocks or skipped stones or just was in the water. Never happened before. So for a family with children wondering, in this day and age, our children's always on the computer, what may happen? Perfectly fine. And the internet's perfectly strong just the same. So you can still get by with that too.
I have type 1 diabetes, and so I'm insulin dependent. I use an insulin pump, and I had to find a way to be able to make sure that I could get all of my needs here. So one of my first things that I did when I was here was I went to all the local pharmacies with my vial of insulin, and I asked if I could get my insulin here. Now, I couldn't get the exact insulin that I have, but I was able to find insulin that I could use, and I was able to find a way that I could get all of my resources easily sent to me from the US. So I kept everything in place and was able to receive shipping here pretty seamlessly. So no biggie for me. I just kind of transitioned and, I have everything that I need. We're close enough here also in the San Carlos area that we're only an hour and a half away from Panama City, which is literally like a day trip. So, if we need to go and get something or see a specialist or a doctor, it's pretty accessible for us. Also, traveling, if I couldn't go to a doctor here, we are not very far from Miami. I really like the accessibility here in this area to be able to go back and forth to, the major international airport. And so for us, that was a big deal. And, that was kind of like a check off of our list. There's a really good hospital about 10 minutes from us. I think it's like $2 to see a doctor. And the medication here, if I need and I run out of something like insulin or test strips, all I do is I go into the pharmacy, I show them what I need. I do not need a prescription. I just go in and I get it. So for me, if I had an emergency, I couldn't get to a doctor, I could go to a pharmacy and get my medicine here without any questions asked, which I like because, sometimes you have an emergency, you need something like that. So that was important to me to be able to see that it's possible here, and, so far, no issues at all.
The interactions that I've seen and that I've had personally in Panama tell me that they're kind humans. Now, there are unkind humans everywhere, but as a general sense, all is good. Right, when you're here, I don't think twice about what may happen. So it feels amazing and secure on one end, and on the other end, you were talking about the medicine, and I was kind of brought back to a time where I had to bring our dog into the vet. And besides it being a great experience, the vet by accidentally overcharged me. And then about an hour and 10 minutes later, they called me to tell me that they overcharged me. And they asked me to come back so they could refund me the difference. So not only do I feel safe, but there's a lot of trust that I've also developed with the people of Panama very quickly because they're very kind in that as well.
Yeah, we actually, where we live right now, it's almost as if we live in a a double gated community because we have a gate on our actual property and then we live in a guard gated complex. So there's somebody on guard 24 hours a day. And he knows everybody coming in and out. There's only 15 homes in the little complex that we live in, so he knows everybody coming in, everybody coming out. I feel extremely, extremely safe here. It's just, you know, people are really friendly. They look out for each other. It's a very small town. You get to know people really quickly here. We've only been here a month, and we go to the grocery store and we see 6 people that we know. So it seems like the community really cares for the people that are here. They kind of get to know each other. If something's going on, they'll let you know. I think we transitioned really, really easily. And, you know, as far as our son, it was a little bit difficult. I'm not going to say, you know, oh, he was happy. He was not happy to come here at all. You know, he's 12 years old. He's going into middle school. He spent his whole life going to one school. He had his friends there. And it's also consistency and sameness that, you know, children really require to have, you know, that consistency and sameness in their life. So for us, what I did, and I know that because it's kind of the work that I do, is I actually help people transition into these types of situations. I already foresaw the possibility that this could be a difficult transition for him and for us. So I planned for that. I just made sure that we weren't in flux when we got here, and it was like a really smooth transition. So for our son, it made all the difference in the world. He got here and he was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, I have this, I have that. And we got right into a routine. Because of that, even more, the more important to make sure that we had all of the things that made him feel like home. So we got right into that right away. And I think that it made all the difference. We also, before I came out here, I was already knee deep in research. I made sure that I knew all the information about the best schools, what I had in mind for what I wanted for our son's education, his needs, our needs. I kind of did a lot of the legwork and the research before we even got out here so that by the time we were here, I had it set into place so it wasn't in flux.
The business that we're in is to create a healthy frame of mind, like a healthy way of seeing reality, seeing what's in front of us. So for our son, as he was going through what he needed to go through, we honored what he needed to go through because he's a human moving his entire life over, right? Like his friends are changing. Although in this day and age, things are different because his friends are all online. So making sure that he had the adequate ability to still communicate with his friends was helpful. We have the ability to then help each other or give him a different way of looking at it, giving him perspective to help his transition along that much faster. So I could see for some, they could hit a couple of bumps in the road because it's working through the emotions that come up, which are natural, they're healthy, and it's just a part of life. Why we live in San Carlos is just because that was where we found the home that felt right to us. Coronado feels like it's part of my day-to-day. Like it's generally where I go every day. It's where I go get coffee. It's where I go grocery shopping. It's where I pick up water. It's where I go meet and greet other people around. It's the hub of it. And it's close enough that it doesn't feel out of arm's reach. It feels part of home. It's just 10 minutes down the road. What I also love about San Carlos is I can turn and go the other direction. And, you know, while I love going to Coronado, it's a more pleasurable ride to turn left and to go into Rio Alto and going down that area where we go to the fish market, and there's other shopping and there's beautiful beaches and there's another life down there. So it's really, San Carlos is a beautiful middle ground. Without Coronado, it would feel different for sure. I would feel like there was less accessible to me.
Well, Coronado is essentially the place where all of the shopping is. You know, there's not a whole lot here, so it's where the grocery stores are, where the restaurants are. There's a few little stores and shops in San Carlos. There's a market there. There is like a downtown area of San Carlos. There's a hospital there. But most of the major shopping and, you know, where people congregate and go is in Coronado. And it's a little bit more populated. So where we are, we're only 10 minutes. So we drive, I mean, 10 minutes is not that long. Unless you go on a weekend.
Yeah.
Then there could be quite a bit of traffic because everybody's going there shopping and kind of coming in and out. But we personally chose this area because we like the privacy. You know, as you can see, we live on a house that is probably a flat, at least an acre and a half. And, you know, we're right by the beach. We do have, you know, some neighbors that like to play music, but generally speaking, it's really, really peaceful here. It's really quiet. So that worked for us. But there are so many options here where, you know, some people want to have the community, and they want to kind of be in the middle of where everybody else is, and they want to kind of have a little bit more of you know, the social aspect. We like that when we want it, and then we come home and we like our peace and our quiet. And you know, for me, that was just something that I wanted. So I think there's a little bit more of private homes in the Costa Esmeralda area where we are, and San Carlos offers some private homes. You know, a little bit, the downtown San Carlos, I think, you know, a little bit more of community. And Coronado has the condos and also the houses. So it just depends on what you're looking for.
I think it's really important to mention, if you're looking at Coronado, if you're looking at San Carlos, any of the surrounding areas, one is you need a car. You can do the bus. There are buses, that little white buses that go by and pick you up. You stand on the side of the road. I guess you could do it. I wouldn't particularly do it. I would want a car. Having said that, people come from the city to Coronado, to San Carlos on the weekend. This is where they go to completely release, unwind, and let go. So on a weekend, we do our best to avoid Coronado, because you'll find what usually would take us 10 minutes driving would take us 30, 40, even 50 minutes, because there's just traffic jam after traffic jam of everyone coming from the city to the ocean. Right? So if you are looking to make Coronado your home or San Carlos your home, there is timing. There's timing around realizing when you should or should not go into the city.
It's also getting used to, you know, there's no traffic lights, there's no stop signs, there's very little street signs. And so getting in and out of places, like you can miss a turn and you're driving a half hour to get back to where you are, because you have to backtrack and find your way all the way across. So, you know, the idea of, at first we moved here and thought maybe we could not have a car. It is not possible not to have a car. It just, not where we live anyway. You must have a car. You know, it's just, especially with a family too, everything is pretty far spread out. You know, so, and walking, it would be way too hot, and there's no sidewalks. So if you're somebody thinking, oh, can I just, you know, get around? It's really, really difficult to do so. So that would be something to really think about. I spoke to a lot of parents just about their experience with the private schools here. There isn't a whole lot to choose from, but part of why we chose this area was because, more so than the Boquete area, although I have heard that now that they do have perhaps private school there now, but when we were looking, there wasn't really that in place at the time, and we weren't into homeschooling. It just wasn't what we wanted to do. So I wanted him to have more, because the social aspect. I think moving internationally, I think that for him to have friends and a group of kids that he was connected to here was really important. So we wanted to find a well-established international private school. So here in our area, in the Coronado area, there was 3. I think there might be one more school that was added to the mix. And we ended up going to the particular school that we did, even though it's about 20 minutes away from where we are now. But it was around for a while. There was a lot of parents that seemed to like it. It was small classrooms, really good education. And what we have noticed is our son was at the top of his class, honors class, advanced in his class in the United States and California. And so he came here, and after a week, the curriculum was actually pretty challenging for him. And, you know, so what we're finding is that he's getting a better education here than he was in the United States.
Far better.
Far better. And I couldn't believe it. Like, he needed help. He was having questions. And this was obviously a testament to the fact that the schools in the United States are overcrowded. You know, 38 kids in a class is just, it's not acceptable. He's maybe 7 or 8 kids in his class, so it's really individualized education. They're teaching for the student, not just for, you know, him to get a good grade on an exam. And it's Americanized education. He was a little bit challenged by the fact that he does not know any, or did not know a single word in Spanish. And they do teach classes 100% in Spanish here.
Not all the classes.
No, just the Spanish class. No, sorry. His other classes are in English, but his Spanish class, he went in and it was all in Spanish, and he had, you know, varying levels of Spanish speaking in his class. So he's starting from scratch, and that was a little overwhelming, but he's going to learn really quickly. One thing that I do notice is there are carpooling here. So, you know, parents do kind of network together because nobody really wants to be driving that far.
Yeah.
But yeah, the parents are really good about carpooling, and we've already kind of met some other parents that we carpool with and we network with to kind of, you know, support in that. So. Yeah,
the community has been awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, it makes sense when you're out of your element, when you're a fish out of water, you meet someone else who's a fish out of water and you bond together. But all in all, you know, finding people, connecting people, instantly finding someone to carpool with, having, you know, we found like a guardian angel friend of ours that walked us through so many aspects of how to navigate the day-to-day of Panama. And you just start to realize maybe where some people live, they have that experience. Where we came from, we didn't. And to come here and to feel like you have a community, some people call it a tribe, I think that's also awesome. We run a company called Secret to Life Institute. But generally what we do is we help solve problems for people. Emotional problems, physical problems, mental problems, things that come up that seem to repeat in their life again and again and again. We offer them the opportunity to release those. So with our business, we do online courses, we do one-on-one consultations with clients. I also work with businesses, and we work in the realm of the unconscious mind. So we're working on all of the aspects that usually you're unaware of to bring to the surface what you are looking to find about yourself, to gain learnings, to then heal. What that means is it varies across the board. We help people who come with all kinds of challenges and problems find a resourceful state so that they can move through it and live a happier, healthier life. And we give people tools which they can implement themselves in any moment that are going to take them back to the root of where the problem actually began. So let's just say somebody comes here, they move to Panama, and they start to have all kinds of anxiety and you know, uncertainty about whether the decision was the right one for them. Well, what we would do is we would actually work with somebody, and we would probably take them back to a space where they had anxiety in an original moment that had nothing to do with this move to Panama, but that had something to do with something that maybe they were unaware of and unconscious of. And the move to Panama is actually the trigger of the emotion that had something to do with something that they did not work through in early childhood conditioning. Right. And so what we do is we actually help people find the root of where their instability would be. Now we would think, okay, it is a rational understanding that moving like this could cause a lot of anxiety. But when the foundation has, you know, something that maybe is wounded and unhealed and unbalanced there, when we go through things that are a little bit more intense and complicated and that, you know, is going to bring up that stuff, it tends to trigger original wounds. So what we do is we go back to the original space and we help them with the emotion that may be uncovered so that they can find balance when, you know, stuff comes up, because life does offer us a whole lot of, you know, circumstances that sometimes feel like they're testing us, and we're not as stable in times when we can't when we can't find our footing, and that's when we can tell when the original wounds are coming up. Yeah, I think it's important to mention, there was a blog post that you did recently that was about your baggage comes with you. Mm-hmm. Some individuals say, I'm going to move and everything is going to be better when I move to Panama. And this is a vital time, because when you move to a new life, you realize what still comes with you. At some point in this conversation, we said how smooth our transition has been moving to Panama. It was smooth because of the work that we did, the work that we do. When something comes up, we paid attention to it, and we utilized the tools, hence why we call it Secret to Life Institute. We utilized the tools to allow the energy to move, to gain the learnings we wanted to gain, and then life adjusted. Life created a new outcome for us. And that may sound really strange for someone that's never done this work before, But once you see it happen for the first time, you get there's more to life than what you know. And this is what we teach.
So how do we navigate the unpredictable? How do we get through that in a way that makes it easier on us? Why it was smooth for us is because we were able to do that for ourselves, and so we were balanced in the process. And when things came up, we went within, and we found a way to kind of, you know, reroute ourselves to get through it very quickly so that we were back on track. And that happens,
Heck
you know?
yeah. Life's a lot more pleasurable that way.